Have you ever wondered what makes a watch worth $31 million? It sounds unbelievable, right? But it actually happened. A single wristwatch, just one, sold for that astronomical price. In this video, we're going to dive into the story behind the most expensive watch ever sold. It all went down in Geneva at a very special charity auction, an event dedicated exclusively to the world's most luxurious and sought-after timepieces. This wasn't just any auction, it was a gathering of collectors, connoisseurs, and philanthropists all ready to bid on history. So how did one watch manage to capture the world's attention and fetch such a mind-boggling price? Let's find out. The auction was a spectacle, filled with a lineup of incredible, rare watches that would make any collector's heart race. You had pieces from all the major luxury brands, each with its own unique story and craftsmanship. But amidst the sea of horological treasures, one watch stood out. It was drawing all the attention, all the whispers, all the speculation. That watch was the Patek Philippe Grandmother Chime, reference 63008. Even before the bidding started, you could feel the energy in the room shift whenever this particular watch was mentioned. It was clear that this wasn't just another lot number. This was the main event. Everyone knew something special was about to happen. Now, before the auctioneer even picked up the gavel, the experts had already weighed in. The consensus was that this watch was going to break records. The pre-auction estimates were hovering around the $20 million mark. Think about that for a second. $20 million was the expected price. So when the bidding kicked off and quickly climbed, the room was buzzing but not shocked. When the bids hit $18 million, there wasn't a gasp or a surprised murmur. It was met with a calm, almost knowing silence. This was the territory everyone anticipated. It was like watching the opening act of a blockbuster movie. You know the big action scene is still to come. But then something incredible happened. The bidding didn't slow down. It didn't stop at the expected $20 million ceiling. Instead, it just kept climbing. 21 million, 22, the numbers kept rising, each new bid pushing the watch further into uncharted territory. At this point, the atmosphere in the room completely changed. The calm anticipation turned into palpable excitement and disbelief. It became crystal clear to everyone watching, both in the room and around the world, that this wasn't just going to be a new record. This was going to absolutely shatter all previous records for a timepiece sold at auction. The question was no longer if it would break the record, but by how much. The tension was almost unbearable as to determine bidders battled it out. The price soared past 25 million, then 28, then 30. Finally, the auctioneer's gavel came down. Sold, the final price, $31 million. The room erupted in applause. It was a historic moment. With that final bid, the Patek Philippe Grandmother Chime officially became the most expensive watch ever sold at auction in the history of the world. A single timepiece worth more than a private jet or a collection of supercars. It was a staggering figure that sent shockwaves through the watch community and beyond, cementing its place in the history books forever. To put this incredible number into perspective, let's talk about the previous record holder. Before this Patek Philippe came along, the title of the world's most expensive watch belonged to a very famous Rolex Daytona. But not just any Daytona, it was the one owned by the legendary actor and race car driver, Paul Newman. His personal watch sold for a then unheard of $17.8 million. For years, that seemed like an unbeatable record. But this Grandmother Chime didn't just beat it, it nearly doubled it. The sale completely redefined what was possible at a watch auction. What makes this story even more fascinating is that, unlike many record-breaking watches, this Patek Philippe wasn't a vintage piece with decades of history. The Paul Newman Daytona was from the 1960s, its value deeply tied to its age and its famous owner. This Grandmother Chime, however, was brand new. It was a contemporary masterpiece, manufactured specifically for this event. This fact turns the traditional idea of value on its head. Usually, it's the old, rare, and historically significant pieces that fetch the highest prices. But this watch proved that modern craftsmanship, when combined with other unique factors, can be just as, if not more, valuable. So what is the grandmother chime? It's one of the most complicated wristwatches Patek Philippe has ever created. These watches are produced in extremely limited numbers, and you can't just walk into a store and buy one, even if you have the money. Patek Philippe sells them only to their most valued and loyal clients, and even then, there's a strict application and approval process. You have to be personally selected by the company's president. This exclusivity is a huge part of the watch's appeal. But the watch sold at this auction was even more special. It followed a completely different path to the sale room. This particular grandmother chime, reference 6300, was a one-of-a-kind creation. It wasn't part of a limited series, it was a one-of-one. Patek Philippe made this single watch, with its unique stainless steel case and salmon-colored dial, specifically for this charity auction. The dial itself even bears the inscription, "The Only One." This wasn't just a marketing slogan. It was a statement of fact. There would never be another one like it. This absolute uniqueness elevated the watch from a mere luxury item to a true piece of art, a singular object of desire for the world's wealthiest collectors. And that brings us to how it was sold. With this watch, there was no secret waiting list. There was no need to have a long-standing relationship with the brand. There was no private client selection process. The usual rules of acquiring a Patek Philippe grandmother chime were thrown out the window. The company made it available to the public on one condition: you had to be the highest bidder at the charity auction. This democratic approach, in a world that's usually all about exclusivity and connections, created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It leveled the playing field and let the market decide the true value of the only one. In the end, why did this watch sell for $31 million? It wasn't just about the 20 different complications or the intricate mechanics. Its value came from a perfect storm of factors. Rarity, because it was a one-of-one; uniqueness, with its special steel case and dial combination; and context, being sold at a high-profile charity auction with no pre-selected bidder, allowing for a true bidding war. It was the chance to own something that nobody else in the world could ever have. That's the story of how a modern watch became the most valuable in history. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of luxury.